Good evening and welcome to the December 10th, 2013 council meeting. Clerk will call the roll, please.
Markham.
Here.
Sedlacek.
Present.
Jarvis.
Here.
Hanson.
Present.
Anderson. Fernsler.
Here.
Nelson.
Here.
Williams.
For the record, we have a quorum for the council meeting. Next item, please stand for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening and welcome to our citizens. Next item is the approval of the consent agenda. Chair will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second, Alder Markham.
We have a first and a second to approve the consent agenda from A through I. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll, please.
Jarvis.
Yes.
Fernsler.
Yes.
Markham.
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Sedlacek.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. The next item is the audience portion where we have people sign up ahead of time to be recognized by the chair. And this is where you get to do the talking and we get to do the listening. And tonight, no one is signed up. Probably smarter than all the rest of us staying in your nice warm houses. So take care and make sure you check on your neighbors. I would like to make one comment to thank Council President Hanson for running the last council meeting in my absence. I was on the road with Plymouth High School students down in Florida, so that was a nice job. Thank you. Moving on, item 5, proclamation. Retired Plymouth Utility Finance Manager Howard Bunkert. I would ask Clerk Huberty to read the proclamation and then the chair will entertain a motion.
Whereas Howard Bunkert has served as an employee of the City of Plymouth, Plymouth Utilities, from July 30th, 1989, representing over 24 years of service. And whereas Howard faithfully served as office manager through 2008 and as finance manager from 2009 to his retirement. And whereas through his involvement in many functions of the Plymouth Utilities has been a valuable asset to our community. Now therefore be it resolved that Donald O. Pullman, Mayor of the City of Plymouth, and on behalf of the entire community wish to express their sincere and heartfelt appreciation to Howard for these dedicated years of service. In witness, he has set his hand upon and caused the seal to be applied on this 10th day of December 2013.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved, Alder Markham. Second, Sedlacek.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Do I get to vote? No. Howard, on behalf of the city and the Plymouth Utilities, it's with great privilege to present you with a proclamation for your many years of dedicated service, and we congratulate you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I got a couple, just one note. Just to let the council know and the city of Plymouth and the people of Plymouth and the outlying areas here that, you know, it's a very, very nice honor to have this proclamation. And I'm real happy to say that I've had a great opportunity to work with some excellent people at the utilities. I'm a little prejudiced because I have 3 excellent gals that do a terrific job in the front office, and they keep everything running in the flow. And it's nice to know that the communications is kept wide open, and they just, you know, they deserve a portion of this honor for sure. And There's the rest of the people that I've been working with for many, many years. I've been exceptionally happy with them. They do a very good job of keeping the lights on and keeping the water going and everything working. So, and I'd also like to make mention that I was very happy to work with John McKinnon. He did an excellent job. Taught me a lot of things, you know, about electric utility and water and sewer mains and those types of things. So it was quite a lesson, and it was a terrific job. So I just want you to know I had an excellent time. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you very much. I think it probably bears to be said that when Howard first started with the utilities, we were borrowing money for payroll on Friday. And we now have a surplus at the utilities, and like you said, it's well-oiled and working well, and we thank you and the whole entire team, because it is a big job, and you had your eyes on it all the time, and we thank you much. Thank you. Moving on, item 6, ordinances, 6A, ordinance number 11, an ordinance repealing section 2-3-11, utilities manager of the municipal code of the city of Plymouth. I'll ask Administrator Yurgis for a summary, please.
Ordinances actually 11, 12, and 13 all go together. You may recall a few months ago we changed job descriptions for the Director of Public Works / City Engineer and the City Administrator / Utilities Manager, and the formal ordinances would update the municipal code as well.
Good, thank you. We'll treat each one separately as they are separate ordinances. Number 6A, Chair will entertain a motion to approve the ordinance repealing.
So moved. Second.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? I will comment that all ordinances are in the clerk's office for examination and on the city's website for those that want to have more detail either before or after our proceedings. There being no further discussion, clerk will call the roll on ordinance 11.
Sedlacek.
Yes.
Markham.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Fernsler.
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Jarvis.
Yes.
Motion carried, thank you. Moving on, item 6B, ordinance 12. As Administrator Yurgis said, this is doing some correction work. Chair will entertain a motion on ordinance 11.
Ordinance number 12.
Second, Alderman Nelson.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll, please.
Fernsler.
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Sedlacek.
Yes.
Markham.
Yes.
Jarvis.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Motion carried, thank you. Item 6C, ordinance number 13, again amending section 2-3-7. Chair will entertain a motion.
I move to approve ordinance number 13.
Second. Alderman Markham.
We have a first and a second to approve ordinance number 13. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll, please.
Nelson.
Yes.
Jarvis.
Yes.
Markham.
Yes.
Fernsler.
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Sedlacek.
Yes.
Motion carried, thank you. 6D, ordinance number 19, an ordinance amending the City of Plymouth Comprehensive Plan, planned land use map by changing a property designation from single-family residential to two-family residential and conversion of an existing residence to a two-family dwelling, specifically 619 Alfred Street. Administrator Yurgis, you want to give us a brief summary on that, please?
Sure, I'll make a few comments, and then I don't know if the building inspector wanted to make any comments, but it relates to amending the comprehensive plan. There's a property at 619 Alfred Street that lost its it was a non-conforming use, and it continued to be kind of like, I don't know what the right term is, in an apartment with rooms to rent. And that lost its status after it was vacant for a period of 12 months. And according to the comprehensive plan, required it to be a single family. Another party purchased the property, and they're looking at turning the upper and the lower into apartments, so it would be a two-dwelling apartment, an upper flat and a lower flat, I believe. Actually, no. There's an upper and lower for
A
each
front-
unit.
front and
A
a
front
back.
and a back. There's a,
Front
I
and a
take
back.
that back. There's a front and a back to the property. And so what this is doing is amending the code and the comprehensive plan. And then there's also a section in our code that allows basically a single family to be turned into a two-family dwelling unit with a public hearing and recommendation of the Plan Commission. And so there's two pieces, but both of those pieces are being wrapped into one ordinance. And then the public hearing is scheduled for January 14th. So there's no action on this item tonight. Do you want to
Well,
comment?
I just wanted to add that there's, the mechanism that Administrator Yurgis mentioned is in our single-family zoning ordinance. And it allows, with the recommendation of the Plan Commission, public hearing and approval of the City Council, a change from a use from a single-family to a two-family home, but we will not be changing the zoning. It can remain as it is currently zoned, but the land use is why we're changing the comprehensive land use plan.
Correct.
Thank you. And Administrator Yurgis said correctly, the chair hereby announces a public hearing to be held on January 14th, 2014. And at public hearings, of course, we ask the audience to make any comments, not just the council members. So the audience is invited if they want to participate on January 14th. Moving on, item 7, resolutions. Number 21, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Plymouth, Wisconsin, establishing the 2014 compensation for Department of Public Works and Plymouth Utilities non-union employees. Administrator Yurgis, you want to give us a summary on that, please?
Sure, you may recall previously this year, we approved new labor contracts for both the Public Works and Utilities Union. And those unions, and that would be for the calendar year 2014. However, it is our understanding that they will not be certified as a union in 2014. And so those union contracts that were previously approved are really no longer valid if there's not going to be unions. And those contracts set compensation at a 1.66% increase, and that is the highest amount they could have got underneath the Consumer Price Index rules that came about from Act 10. So without any other action, staff is unable to adjust wages for the wage or job classifications identified on the resolutions without further action. And as a result, you have resolution number 21 of 2013 before you, which still is, those rates are assuming a 1.66% for January 1, 2014 for these employees. But as you note in my December 3rd resolution, certainly the council could take action to have these job classifications match the other job non-union employee cost of living adjustments, which were previously approved at 2%. So this resolution and that discussion is before the Common Council for consideration.
Thank you. The chair will entertain a motion so we can discuss.
So moved, Alder Markham.
Second, Alder Nelson.
We have a first and a second to approve resolution
What's the motion?
to,
Well,
go ahead.
the motion is to approve and then discuss, because I want to,
Correct.
right.
You need to
Because I do want to make a recommendation to change it to 2%, so all non-union represented employees would get the same increase at 2%, not the 1.66%.
Okay, so,
So my motion will be that all of the increases listed will be at the 2%.
to approve Resolution 21 with the insertion of 2% rather than 1.66. Second agree to that?
Yes.
First and second agree to the motion to approve Resolution 21 of 2013, substituting 2% instead of 1.66. Any other discussion? Alderman Kozlowski.
On the resolution, the hourly amounts, are those at the 1.66%? Or is that
Correct.
at the previous year's amount?
No, the rates in front of you are with the 1.66%, so we would have to change these.
Change
these rates,
those, and
correct.
they would be a 2% increase from this year's
Yeah,
salaries.
right now, this is a 1.66% increase from the 2013 rates. So if you change it to 2%, the rates will change slightly, because instead of being 1.66, it'll be 2%, and the rates change a couple pennies probably.
And then, do we know how much that would be?
We do
Because-
not,
Because this would be coming from, as I read this, from the contingency.
correct. Keep in mind that almost all of them are electric utility, water and sewer utility employees.
Okay.
It would be basically the top few positions related to the Public Works Department.
And then the
We did
office.
not calculate out the difference between 1.66 and 2, but it should be very minimal.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments?
We would have to note that the difference would come from contingency.
Yes.
Should we have in the motion to add that it would come from contingency since the budget has been passed?
Yes.
So we
Yes.
should add,
Yes.
first and second, you agree to
Yes.
add the words from contingency? Okay, thank you. Any other comments or discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Hanson,
Yes.
Jarvis.
Yes.
Sedlacek.
Yes.
Markham.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Fernsler.
Yeah.
Motion carried, thank you. Resolution 7B, item 7B, Resolution 22, a resolution authorizing a relocation order for water transmission and distribution facilities and public street purposes on West Summit Street, West Main Street, County Z pursuant to Wisconsin Statute Chapter 32. I'd ask Attorney Fever to give us a summary, and then the chair will entertain a motion.
Great, thank you, Mayor. And everyone should have a memo from Administrator Yurgis about this project identifying the need to acquire property. Chapter 32 of the Wisconsin statutes deals with eminent domain, and the city has various reasons why you can exercise your eminent domain powers. And two of those reasons are for water transmission and distribution facilities, as well as public street purposes. And what this resolution does is it's the first step in exercising those eminent domain powers. It starts the process. This resolution determines that there is a public need to acquire this land, which goes back to the memo from Brian, which outlines some of that public need. And the next step in the process is a negotiation with the landowner. The landowner will receive a pamphlet advising him or her of their rights as a landowner. There will be appraisals, and then there'll be a negotiation of the property, a purchase and sale negotiation. And many times it'll be resolved there. If not, the eminent domain process would continue on. And certainly I'm happy to answer any questions about the eminent domain process, and I don't know if Administrator Yurgis has any comments about the water reservoirs or the public street purposes.
Administrator Yurgis?
Yeah, I'll just comment, the plan committee policy that the Common Council already has adopted, records management, training and development, exit interviews, Disciplinary action, again, that also refers back to a policy previously adopted by the Common Council. And then paid and unpaid leaves and various conditions of employment and fringe benefits. The one thing that I think is relevant that I should mention specifically relates to vacation for new hires. And that would be on page 42. What we tried to work on was this issue of two, at this point, let me back up. Finance and Personnel Committee said at this point in time, we don't want to change the existing vacation policy of the city of Plymouth, and that might be something we would be reviewing in 2014 and/or 15, and if there's a potential recommendation on changing how that program works, that would come at a later date. With that being said, what we did is we incorporated the existing vacation language in there. But the one thing that we tried to resolve a little bit is a situation where we have primarily employees in the utilities department and then city employees, and when they actually accrue vacation. We have, in the case of utilities employees, you always accrue your vacation on your anniversary date. So if you start in August, August of each year is when you get your next vacation days, and then you have to use those days up through the next 12 months until the next August. On the city side, it's initially your anniversary date, but then it converts back to January 1 after like 2 years or something like that. And so what we tried to do in this situation was that if, let's say, you were hired in the middle of the year and you got 6 months till December 31st, so you work 6 months, so every 2 months you would work, you're accruing 1 vacation day for the next calendar year. So let's say you start in beginning of July and you work 6 months. January 1, you get 3 vacation days that you can use for the given year. And then the rest of that year, you're accruing vacation for the next January 1, which then at that point, what would happen is you would earn 10 vacation days. Did that make sense, or did I lose you guys? Again, what we're trying to do is new hires then would start this way, and that all vacation benefit basically you can start using as of January 1 of each year. So if you're hired in December, essentially you're not getting any vacation at all for 12 months. If you're starting in January, you could work all 12 months, and then the following January you would get 6 vacation days. And then you'd work another year, and then you'd get 10 days. But again, if you were hired late in the year, you'd almost have to go potentially 14, 15, 16 months without any significant vacation. So that's one change that is different from past policies. And then all existing city employees who can continue to receive vacation as they have in the past. So we would have still utility employees that receive vacation at their anniversary date. But that's something that at the Finance and Personnel Committee we can discuss in more detail, whether we want to convert people to everyone to January 1 in the future or not. My thought process is, I know the city attorney is still reviewing the personnel manual, and I know there will be comments that suggested changes that will be provided that most likely I would think we would want to accept, and so we'd make those amendments, but really looking to get something in place so that as of January, we would have personnel policies in place. And then the other thing I want to point out is that this manual can be amended at any time by the Common Council. So if in March you decide that you want to change how we do something, the Common Council has the ability to amend the personnel policies at that time.
Thank you, Administrator Yurgis. Chair will entertain a motion so we can discuss.
So moved, Alder Markham.
Second, Alder Nelson.
Is that to approve the?
To approve the plan with the ability for modifications for the city attorney administrator Yurgis to make minor changes? Yep, okay. Alderman Hanson.
This is for union, non-union, it's across the board for staff, or for administrative staff, et cetera.
This would be for all city employees, with the exception that if something is, that the, there still is a police union contract, and if there's something outlined in the police union contract that is different than the manual, the police contract would prevail for those employees in the police union.
But it would be for utility and city employees.
Correct, all
Correct.
city staff. And utility staff. When I say city, I mean.
One staff.
Yeah, yeah.
We're trying to get under
Yeah.
one roof.
That's right.
That's the intent. Alderman Nelson.
And Attorney Feber, do you expect really anything of significance to change from
I
your
hope
opinion?
not. I have started reviewing it, and I'm about a quarter of the way through. And I haven't had any significant changes so far, just maybe some language helping to clarify if something wasn't clear.
So again, if we had issue with whatever changes had to be made, that we could address those next year.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Any other questions? Clerk will call the roll.
Markham?
Before we call the roll, I would assume that if you do come across what you would call significant changes or adjustments, that you would have in January a lined out or read it out before and after, that, as Alderman Nelson said, we can then review those. So, just to keep us up to date.
Sure, and Mayor, all the changes that I have made so far have been using the track changes function, so there's a record of every change that I
Okay.
suggested.
Administrator Yurgis?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment, for the most part, well, pretty much all, all the benefit levels are all the same as previously before. It's just in this written format. There is language, there are situations where, technically we offered the Center for Health and Wellness, and we offered that to our employees, but we didn't have it in a policy, that was part of our benefit plan. So there's stuff like that, but it's stuff that's already been approved by previous common councils.
Alderman Hanson.
We have a majority of 6, we have 6 alders here tonight, and that is enough to approve? this?
Correct.
We don't need.
We have a quorum.
Okay.
Any other questions? Excuse my interruption. Again, Clerk Huberty, would you call the roll?
Markham?
Yes.
Sedlacek?
Yes.
Jarvis?
Yes.
Hanson?
Yes.
Fernsler?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Motion carried, thank you. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn
So
to
moved,
January
Alderman
14th,
Second.
2014. We have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We stand adjourned.
Guys?